The people, the headlines, the issues impacting you and your family this week in Cincinnati on 9 on Your Side.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to This Week in Cincinnati. I'm Tanya O'Rourke. Today, we are speaking with Ohio Attorney General and Republican candidate for Governor Mike DeWine. Now, DeWine's opponent in the GOP primary is Ohio Lieutenant Governor Mary Taylor. We're working with her campaign to have her join us for This Week in Cincinnati in the coming weeks. Mike DeWine has been a figure in Ohio politics for decades. In addition to being the current Attorney General, he has served in the U.S. Senate, in the House of Representatives, as Lieutenant Governor and Greene County Prosecutor. And joining us now is Attorney General Mike DeWine. Thank you so much, Mr. DeWine, for being here.
Good to be with you. Thank you very much.
A quick note, we are recording this program on a Wednesday morning, so in case something happens in between, but we do have a lot to ask you, from opioid crisis to guns in schools to the economy and money for local communities. First, something that hasn't been in the headlines for some time, but it's something that you have been deeply involved with, and that is the massacre in Pike County. It was almost exactly 2 years ago now that 8 people were murdered in Pike County, Ohio. You said that you were confident that this murder would be solved, the killer or the killers would be brought to justice. So where exactly does that investigation stand, and are we any closer to arrests?
Well, I wish I could tell you exactly where we are, but I can't. But we are moving forward. You know, I thought when this occurred, and this is an unbelievable tragedy, 8 people killed over one night, 4 different locations, all family members. These are the toughest cases when you find a body, in this case 8 bodies, you really have no witnesses, and you have to start from there. But we know today a lot more than we knew 2 years ago when this investigation started. We've made progress, but candidly, we're not there yet. We're not ready to take a case to a grand jury. And, you know, our goal all along has been one thing, and that is justice. Find out who did it, the person or people who did this, and bring them to justice and successfully prosecute them. So that's the focus. It's not just making an arrest. We want to put them behind bars.
Candidly, do you still feel very confident that someone will be brought to justice and relatively soon?
Well, I'm not going to put a time limit on it, but I have been confident all the way through that we were going to solve this. You know, it kind of goes back to my experience as a county prosecuting attorney. Never had a case like this. This is a rare case. But these are not easy cases. Old-fashioned police work has been done. We've worked very closely with the sheriff. Sheriff, you know, as soon as this happened, called the Attorney General's office, called BCI to come in and do the crime scenes. We did the crime scenes, and then we have worked in conjunction with the sheriff. So it's really been a joint effort. We've made a lot of progress. We know a lot more today than we knew when we got started, but we're not there yet.
Confidence still high in the sheriff's office and the investigation?
I'm very confident that we're going to solve this. Okay,
and so you said at that time that your office would maintain a presence in Piketon and Pike County until that case is solved. What type of presence, what do you currently have there?
Well, our men and women are in and out of the county, depending on when that is necessary. You know, a lot of the work, once you get beyond the initial investigation, can occur anywhere. Our crime lab and our BCI is located, you know, at London, Ohio, so we do a lot of the work there. A lot of it's just old-fashioned police work. You know, it's tracing leads down, kind of following where the facts take you, but you know, also, today we live in a very different world. We live in a world of social media, and we certainly use that. And we use all the other techniques that we have today. I mean, you know, one thing that we did not have when I was a county prosecuting attorney is DNA, and we just make, you know, we make major progress. I'm not talking about this case particularly, but major progress on so many cases because of the DNA.
Let's move on to something that has really been top of mind for so many people in our country for the last few weeks, school shootings. And specifically, we've had some, you know, obviously the school shooting in Parkland. We had a situation just the other day in Maryland. You have long said you wanted armed individuals in schools besides officers, besides school resource officers. So in light of those recent shootings, you still feel that way? And who specifically would you like to see armed?
Well, let me start kind of from the beginning. One of the things that I think we should do, and one of my commitments, when I'm governor of this state, we will have somebody in every school building in the state of Ohio who has a mental health background and who is trained in that area. I've said that in a number of different speeches, and I will tell you every time I say that, I have some people who come up to me who identify themselves as teachers, and they say, we really need that. Now look, some schools have that, but many schools do not. I think that it's very important not only to detect who might become a shooter in the future and to try to deal with that, but also, frankly, we live in a day and age when we got a lot of troubled kids, and we have a number of kids, frankly, who you see, committing suicide. And so I think having someone mental health background in that school is very important. Second, if a school can afford it, and I think the ideal situation is to have a law enforcement officer in the school. In the shooting that occurred this week, as you saw, having a law enforcement officer inside that school made a huge difference. I think that's the preferred way. I've been asked, well, what if they cannot afford that? And what I've said is that, look, it's up to every school board, but if I was on a school board, and we could not put that officer in the school, a fallback position would be to find someone in that school who has a military background or who has a law enforcement background, one of the teachers, someone else, and under very carefully controlled circumstances, allow them to have access to a gun.
So to be very clear, then, you don't necessarily want to arm teachers. You're looking at maybe in specific cases having someone, a layperson, armed and ready to go in certain schools.
Look, I think some schools are arming teachers. I'm not criticizing that. I'm not saying that's not the right thing to do. What I'm saying is certainly the best situation is where you have someone who is a dedicated law enforcement officer, because that interaction, just being in the school, that makes a huge difference.
All right, we have so much to talk about, and we're going to continue our conversation with Ohio Attorney General Mike DeWine in just a moment. Stay with us.